In the stillness of ancient halls, lined with forgotten Jedi relics, a single figure walked in silence. White-robed, stern, and unyielding, she held the galaxy's past in her hands, yet couldn't see how close she stood to repeating it. Her name was Atris, a Jedi Master, a historian, and a guardian of the Jedi legacy, or so she believed. But what happens when the keeper of history becomes its greatest warning? Why did one of the Order's most devoted scholars fall to darkness? Not in war, not in anger, but in solitude. To understand the tragedy of Atris is to journey through the heart of the Jedi Civil War, through betrayal, exile, and isolation so deep that even the Force itself seemed to withdraw. She did not fall in battle, she fell in silence, and the galaxy never even noticed. Before the fall, there was only devotion. Atris was once one of the most promising Jedi of her generation, a scholar, a teacher, and a pillar of orthodoxy. She sat on the Jedi High Council in the years before the Mandalorian Wars, and during the harrowing days that followed, proud, brilliant, and unwavering in her beliefs, Atris saw the Jedi Code not simply as a guide, but as an absolute law, and she judged others by how well they obeyed it. When Revan and Malak defied the Council and led Jedi into the Mandalorian Wars, Atris opposed them bitterly. To her, the Jedi's duty was not to take sides in war, but to uphold peace through detachment and discipline. Compassion, yes, but never attachment, never passion, never pride. Yet the irony, Atris herself would fall not through defiance, but through her own relentless adherence to tradition. She was a zealot cloaked in serenity, and she had no idea how easily the Force could turn on those who refused to listen. Of all the Jedi who followed Revan into war, one stood apart, not because she turned to the dark side, but because she came back. The Jedi Exile, Mitra Surik. Atris viewed the Exile's return not as redemption, but as disgrace. Even as the High Council deliberated Surik's fate, Atris was among the loudest voices demanding judgment. To her, the Exile embodied the rot that had spread through the Order. Attachment to war, loyalty to fallen leaders, and worst of all, emotion. But something deeper haunted Atris's hatred. In truth, she had once admired Mitra, perhaps even envied her, and when the Exile chose war over tradition, Atris felt that betrayal more personally than she would ever admit. That pain would fester, and in time, it would shape her destiny. After the Jedi Civil War, the Order lay shattered. Dantooine was destroyed, and the Council disbanded. Atris, refusing to let the Jedi's knowledge die with its masters, fled to Telos IV. There, she built a secret academy beneath the polar regions, a sanctum to preserve Jedi teachings, and, in her mind, restore the Order to its rightful path. But what she built wasn't a temple of learning. It was a prison of silence. Surrounded only by handmaidens, sworn never to speak, Atris filled her time with research, isolation, and obsession. She hoarded holocrons, ancient texts, and Sith records, claiming it was to understand the enemy. But those archives became a mirror of her soul. In trying to preserve the Jedi, Atris was becoming something else entirely. Can one study darkness without breathing it in? For Atris, the answer came far too late. The Sith didn't need to seduce Atris. She seduced herself. While she remained cloaked in white, in formality and tradition, Atris began channeling the very passions she had once condemned. Her bitterness toward the Exile became a quiet obsession. Her need to correct the Jedi path hardened into arrogance, and the holocrons, filled with the dark truths of the Sith, began to reshape her thoughts. She wasn't turned, she transformed. It was Atris who leaked the Exile's return. It was Atris who lured her back to Telos. And it was Atris who orchestrated the entire encounter, believing that she could trap the Exile, defeat her, and prove once and for all that her view of the Jedi was the correct one. But when the confrontation came, it was not the Exile who stood on the precipice of darkness. It was Atris. When Mitra arrived at the secret academy, she did not find a Jedi Master. She found a fallen woman cloaked in illusion. Atris had changed. Her voice was colder, her eyes burned with quiet fury, and the teachings she now espoused were closer to the Sith than the Jedi. Yet in her mind, Atris still believed she was saving the Order. She was the guardian of its legacy, the saviour of its truth. But truth, in her hands, had become tyranny. The confrontation ended not in death, but in revelation. Atris was forced to see what she had become, forced to confront her failure. And in that moment, the weight of her choices came crashing down. Unlike so many others, she was not redeemed by love, nor was she destroyed by hate. She was broken by the truth. After the Exile departed, Atris remained behind, her grand academy now a hollow ruin, echoing with the ghosts of her own arrogance. She did not return to the Order. She did not follow the Sith. She chose isolation. Some say she tried to rebuild herself in silence, to atone for what she had done. Others believe she simply could not face the galaxy again. Either way, the woman who once stood proudly on the High Council vanished into obscurity, not by death, but by memory. The story of Atris is not one of corruption through power, or seduction by the dark side. It's a story of how pride, isolation, and dogma can destroy even the most disciplined Jedi. She never raised a red blade. She never served a Sith Lord. And yet she fell, quietly, thoroughly, and alone. Her legacy is not in victory or teachings, but in the silence that followed her name. A name rarely spoken, even among those who remember the Jedi Civil War. Atris, the historian who couldn't see her own place in the story until it was too late. But what do you think? Was Atris's view of the Jedi the correct one? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, like, subscribe, and join us next week for another deep dive into the archives. If you are enjoying the videos, become a member and let's uncover the galaxy's biggest secrets together. Thanks for watching.